This conference will now be recorded.
So hello everybody, welcome once again. So we'll see in this session what we are going to learn is we are going to learn about performance testing for web services using NeoLoad, and this has been offered by Isha Training Solutions. Yeah. We will see some of the introduction about about Isha. So what we do, Isha is a training institute run by industry experts. We are pioneers in performance testing and engineering. Trainers are certified professionals. We have been delivering trainings across the globe. That's the short introduction about Isha. And this is about me. I am Naveen Kumar Manavalan. I have experience over 4 years in performance. I'm currently located in Bangalore. I have worked across various domains like retail, healthcare, life science, logistics, and telecom. Currently working with telecom. Yeah, I have over 400 hours of live training experience. Currently associated with Isha Training Solutions. Yeah, and, so this is my credentials. I am a certified expert in NeoLoad. I've got it in early 2019 or late 2018. Yeah. So now we'll get into the session. So why NeoLoad? Why one should learn NeoLoad? Yeah. So NeoLoad is just any other tool, performance testing tool. It is a continuous performance testing platform. The best part about NeoLoad is its powerful codeless design and of course acceleration, faster test design compared with any other um, market leaders. Can up to 5 times faster in creating the scripts, setting up the scenario and executing and getting the test results. Yes, it is really simple and intuitive, and of course it has a support for APM and CI/CD integrations, and Dynatrace is one of the first party strategic partners with NeoLoad. Yeah, and of course it supports API testing, cloud testing, and it is really good with mobile app testing. So we'll discuss about web services. What are web services? Yes. Um, so to give an idea about web services is that services are made available on web for code consumption. They are called as web services. Okay, what does this mean? Right? We'll take a short example. Okay, a real life example. When let's say like we are going to somebody is going to a restaurant or an eatery. Okay, you go want to dine in, and then right, let's say you want to order something, and the waiter takes your order, and then he goes to the kitchen, gives the order information, and then gets back the food, right? So here the waiter, right, he is the middleman or the interface which um, facilitates the communication between two different entities or two different components. Okay, so what are the types of web services? So there are two types. One is SOAP, another one is REST. Simple SOAP is also called as Simple Object Access Protocol. REST is Representative State Transfer. In this session, we are going to extensively look into RESTful web services. Yes, so we will quickly look into the difference between RESTful web services and SOAP. Yeah. So these are the major difference. SOAP is of old, REST is of modern. SOAP uses WSDL file. I think some of must have used it. REST uses URI. Okay. SOAP is a protocol. So when we say protocol, protocol comes with a certain set of rules, regulations. It just follows certain, standards, right? Without these standards, a SOAP will not work. REST is not like that. REST is an architectural style, right? It you can use even a simple plain text. We will see about it about REST now. SOAP uses XML. REST you can use JSON, HTML, XML, and even a plain text. Right? Since SOAP comes with strict standards, right? From the performance wise, it's little slow. That is, it carries certain extra information instead of delivering the right information, right? SOAP is not like that. Sorry, REST is not like that. REST is fast and lightweight. So we can see this. SOAP is largely used with banking, insurance, healthcare, where the data is really critical, and it adds more security. Okay. Let's look at this short example. You can see, so the idea is to deliver a message from a point A to B, or from one component to the other component. Okay, if we look at SOAP, you see this, there is this horse, and there is some extra, um, see this this part, there's a cart, and there is so much overhead on this. So REST is not like that. The At the end of the day, both of this um, just a moment, is to deliver a message from one point to B, right? So both uses HTTP. So you can see this. It's not as simple as REST. REST is just, see this. It's not flap. Coach is your guideline or protocol, and the presence of contract, which is the WSDL file. Okay, and of course, since there is a lot of standards has to follow, it adds certain security into this at the cost of performance. Okay, right. Now this is a representation example for between an XML and the JSON. If you see the XML, you can see there is this authentication context, same username, um, password, validation factors, right? So there are like a lot of extra information that needs to be sent along with the original message. So the idea is, the focus is to send this username and password, right? This is what we need to send, but there is so much of extra information that needs to be sent along with that, so that it follows the standard. Yeah, JSON is not like that. JSON is just, by looking at it, it's just very simple. It just comes with a key and value pair. So there is going to be a key, which is a username, and there is going to be a value for this key, which is my username. So the key is username, my username is the value. Again, password. Then further, there are more information that you'll be able to see it there. Okay. Fine. So we will look at creating scripts for REST. Okay. Scripts needs to be created for any performance testing. There are two ways of creating scripts in NeoLoad. Okay, one can use a manual option to create manually. Other option is to use Open API to import the JSON file. or even the direct link. Okay, structure of API. Okay, any API or any requests, right? This is the structure that it is going to follow. Okay, so when we say the structure, there is going to be a HTTP method. Okay, when I say HTTP method, uh, there are many types of HTTP methods: get, post, put, options, delete, all those things, right? Most of these methods are not relevant for performance. Yeah, we are majorly going to involve only get and post. Yeah, and there is going to be URL, also called as endpoint URL. This URL will have the an address and the port, and headers. Headers are the set of attributes which will define. Um, it just gives the information about the connection, the application, the type of client, user agents, etc. that we will see. Body are the parameters that needs to be sent to the server. Okay, in this structure, right? These these three are important, or these three are mandatory. Okay, a method, URL, headers are going to be mandatory. Without this, we cannot fire a request to the servers, or the request will not be a validated request. Body can be optional. Okay, this we will see in practical. Okay, so before get into it, let me start NeoLoad. Okay, so this is when we start NeoLoad, this is what we see. Okay, so I'm going to create a new um, project on new. Okay, so what is this? Let me name this as WebServices. Okay, okay. Now, so this is the as soon as we create the project, this is what we see. This is a home page, and so in this we can see there are so in the left side you can see there is a user path. Here below, all the you can see these logical actions, and we are currently, so there are three major modules in this NeoLoad. Okay, the first module, design is all about creating, developing, recording, enhancing your test scripts. Runtime is about setting up a scenario and executing the tests. Results is further we deep dive into the execution, try to analyze what are the test results. Yeah, these are the three major modules, and this runtime is equivalent to the controller, and again this is equivalent to the analyzing the load runner, and this is Vugen. All these three are combined into one single simple application, so you can see it's really simple to use this. Okay, so as it says, so NeoLoad modules: design, create, develop, enhance the test scripts; runtime, setting up a scenario and execute tests; results, analyze the test results. So next is what we are going to see is the user path. Okay, this is the hierarchy that the NeoLoad follows. Okay, so we will see what is this. So under design tab, under user path, I'm going to um, create a new user path. Okay, so NeoLoad is also, what do I say, it's a kind of a bridge between LoadRunner and Jmeter. Okay, it's like as good as creating a test plan. Okay, So whoever has used Jmeter can relate it. So let's say I'm going to name this as web service. Okay, so now I have created a new web service script. Okay, so like how we see in LoadRunner, there is a init, action, and end. These violet color folders, right, folder icons, these are called as containers. Okay, so this follows this specific hierarchy. That is, there is going to be a container. Under the container, there is going to be a transaction. You can simply create a new transaction by right clicking and insert as child, and see this, there is a folder here, transaction. Simply create a transaction. I can name, let's say I'm just naming it as a get for now. Yeah, right. So next, under pages, or we can directly create a request. Again, right click, insert as child, can create a web page, but this is not required for now. Okay, so I'll just remove it. I will show you how to create a request manually, but before we get into it, we'll try to understand what is a Swagger. Yeah, yeah. Swagger is an open source framework for REST web services. Swagger 2 helps to design, build, and consume REST web services. It is a UI for API, and it is developed by Smartbear. Okay, so this is the application that we are going to see how we can create a get request or post request using this. So there are this is a demo application. Okay, there are three main parts of this. Okay, there is a pet, store, and user. Okay, so we will see about this particular request. Okay, so where we are going to, so this is a UI for API. Okay, so uh, I'm going to click on this, try it out. Okay, I would like to know what all the pets available based on the status. Yeah, there are three statuses: available, pending, and sold. Okay, so let me try executing this available. Okay, so there is a curl command. Okay, so what it says is there is a get request, the method is get, this is the URL. Okay, and this is the header that is getting passed here. There is no body for this particular get method. Okay, so we'll try to uh, create a get request. So how do I create a request is, I'll just simply right click in a transaction. Okay, I want to insert a request, a HTTP request. Okay, so there are two options. You can create an empty request, or you can insert a content. Okay, when we look at the content, we can see there is a skeleton. Okay, this is how a typical request is going to be. Okay, there is a post, that is which defines the HTTP method. There is a link, right, which is again the endpoint URL, and we see a set of headers here, right? This accept encoding, content type, all these are some set of headers, and these three are going to be mandatory. That is, till this content length has to be mandatory part, and followed by the body, which is an optional. Right now I'm going to create a get request. Okay, as we create HTTP request, there is also an option where we can feed in the response here itself, but right now we do not know the response how it is, so we will just create a request. Okay, so I'm just pasting the URL. Okay, and I'm just going to write get, that is the method. Okay, you watch this carefully. I've just simply given get and the link for it, and I'll click on this create. Okay, so as soon as I clicked create, so this has created a request. So which method? So these are the other methods that I was just discussing. Okay, but largely we'll be focusing only on get and post. The other request may not be relevant for performance. Yeah, and so the servers, that is which server is involved, um, or which host that we are going to hit, and this is the path, and this is the parameters. Okay, so we'll see. So when I click this, that is available, we'll look at the response. Okay, so this is the response that we have got. Okay, so it started with something 9374. Okay, we'll try to execute this. So how do I do? There is a check user path which will allow us to replay the created scripts. Okay, I just simply click this. Okay, there is going to be by default, right, whenever that we are going to replay something, we have to change this handle cache to a new user. Okay, so which I'm just doing it. I've just changed this handle cache to a new user. Okay, and I'll click on this start checking. This will start replay all the requests that are associated with this particular script. Time. Yeah, I can see response code 200, and this is the response that I've got. Below what we see is the response, and I can go to the request, and this is the request that we have fired. Get and link, and the other attributes that NeoLoad by itself it has filled it. Okay, when we look at the response, we can see ID 9377. Let's see, it was 9374. Okay, it keeps changing, so let's once again replay this. Okay, okay. So to give a short idea about check user path is that, let's say that we are seeing about the scripts. This is the timeline right side. The actions gives which container, which request that is going to execute. Again, the response code which gives the idea on whether it's success, failure, or other parts. Yeah, assertions. We haven't applied any assertions. Assertions are the validations or the checkpoints, which we will see. And difference can only be seen if we already have a response. Okay, so you see this, there is a way to compare the response. If I click this, what I can see is I can see only the server response during validation, the left side. Okay, right side, there is nothing here. because we haven't recorded anything or we haven't fed in any sample response to this particular request. So what we can do is can simply right click on the request and click on this update recorded content. Okay, so what this will do is it is going to update or overwrite the response, the current response, okay, which I'm going to give. Okay, I'm going to replay this. Okay, now I'll be able to see the response. See this now, this is the response that we had replaced it. And what we see is there are legends. It says green are the added text. So these are the new text that we've got. So this is how we'll be able to create a GET request with the API. So this is by available. Okay, so let's say I want to change from available to pending. So this is a response that I've got. I can simply double click this and then hard code this by using pending. And then play it. So we can see the right response that we've got. Right? It starts with 1059 and it says difference is 100%. So this is a different response that we have decided to overwrite. We can again update the recorded content and then replay it. Yes. So see this now, the difference is 0 because both recorded response and the validation response are matching. Okay. Till now, do you guys have any questions? Can please type it in the chat box. I'll be able to answer. Okay. Swagger is the okay. Chandra has asked what is a Swagger. Okay, let me explain. Swagger is a UI tool for API. So see, for example, we have this. These are the set of APIs, right? And if anybody wants to work, probably people have to depend on the devs or the other testers, right? So this Swagger is a UI tool which has all the API calls consolidations. It gives a UI feel to it, which again helps you to design, build, and test, and further improve the testing part. This is what Swagger is, and it is developed by Smartband. Yeah. Yes, currently we are looking only at the RESTful API. Sometimes, so Nair has asked whether the header gets specified automatically. Yes. So the headers, right? There are many attributes. See, to show you an example, we will look at this example. Yeah. So I'm just invoking a developer tool now. Okay. I'll just simply refresh this. Okay. The first request that has sent to the server is the main request. Okay. Followed by we see the embedded resources, right? So here these are the I mean, let's look at this header part. Okay. General, which is common to all. What it says is this is a URL, this is the request method, a status code, and so on. Response header will come back. So request headers, okay, these are the set of different attributes, okay, that gets sent along with the request. Okay, in this, not all are mandatory, some of them are mandatory, that we will see in the post request. Yeah. Yes, I will Arun, I'll once again show the recorded response. Yes, Swagger is similar to Postman, but it is not exactly. It is just gives you a UI feel to it. The significance of creating. Okay, another question by Kripa. What is the significance of transaction name? Okay, uh, the significance is to consolidate all these API calls into one particular transaction, so that you'll get the right metrics when you go for the execution. Yeah, fine. Thanks for the questions. We will continue the session. I'll just close this. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll once again okay, let me go to the design, and I want to, let's say I want to create another request. I'm just going to duplicate this. Okay, and again I'm going to, so there are three parts, right? There is available, pending, and sold. Now I'm just going ahead with sold. Okay, I'll double click this. I'm just hard coding it. Sold. Okay, so I'll just change this as available and create one more transaction. Name it as sold. For now, I'll disable this. Okay. I'll replay this. Now this has to return the pets that has been sold. I'll execute it here. And so this is the response that I've got. It starts with ID 9, right? So yes, that we have, it is evident that we have got the same response. Okay. So okay. So there is a difference, and let's say that you would want to update this response, and you want to associate with this particular sold request. Yeah. How to do it? Just simply right click this and then click on this button, click on this option, update recorded content. Okay. So this will prompt whether to overwrite the current response with the existing one. Okay. Yes, say yes, overwrite it. And if you once again check it, you'll be able to see the recorded the content gets updated. See this, if I go to the comparison, so left side what you're saying is the during the validation, right side is during the recording. Now both the content are similar, same. The only change here is the timing. See this? Yeah. All right. Usually this content, right, when we record an application, it gets automatically updated. Since we are dealing with API and we are doing it manually, so we have to update it. Yeah, fine. So next we will look, I'll disable this. We'll explore about a post request. Yeah, fine. So in this UI, right, there are three major parts. Okay, pet, store, and user. Okay, we will look at user. Okay, so let's say I'll take this as an example. That is, I'm going to create a user. Okay, I'm going to create a user. So how, let's see, I'll click on this. Okay, try it out. Okay, and so when we are going to create a something, this when we are dealing with post request, okay, we are sending some data to the server, right? So we have this parameters, and let's see, let me create a user with, say, I'm just giving some random name here. I'll go ahead with this Batman. Okay. His first name is Bruce. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm just going to execute it. This is going to create the user. Okay. After creating, this is the response body that we have got. Okay. So we will try to create this manually. Okay. So this is the request URL, which I'm just going to copy it. So under post transaction, I'll add a new HTTP request. There are other types of requests. Right now we are dealing with HTTP requests. Okay. So we are just going to follow the same format. Okay. I'm going to type post, which defines my method. I'll paste the URL. Okay. And I'll give this body. Okay. Excuse me. I'll just click this button, create. Okay. Now I've created a post request. What I'll do is under this post method, there are many types of content type. There is forms, multi-forms, MIME, text, and binary. Since we are just working with um, REST can work with binary or text. Okay, the most apt content type is the text, which I have just changed it. Okay, now we will just try to fire this request. Okay, so I'll say start checking. Click on this button. Okay, so it says this user path web service contains one error. Okay, and the response code is 415. Okay, whenever we see a response code that is with 400 series, that means something is wrong with our request. That is all it means. Something, the request that we are firing, something is wrong. And let's look at this response. Okay, what it says is, it says unsupported media type. See this part, it says unsupported media type, means something is wrong here. Okay, let's try to look at it. Okay, we'll go back. Let's look at the curl command. So in this command, what it says is, okay, the link, the method is post, there is a link, and there are some of the mandatory headers that we would need to pass it along with this request. Okay, so what are these mandatory headers? The mandatory headers is, one is this accept application JSON, another one is the content type, which defines the content type of the this particular request. Okay, so we'll go back and we'll see what is, okay, there is, it says content type is something like application octet stream, okay, which is not matching with this particular content type. So let's try to change this. So how do we change or add a header? Just simply click on any request and go to advanced, click on advanced, and so in these are the advanced parameters that we see. There is a request headers, advanced settings, variable extractors, recorded request, and recorded response. We do not have any response right now. We will update it later. Okay. This is the request that we have found, right? Okay. So this is empty. What we would need to add is, let's try to add this part, that is accept header. So I'll just simply add this, click on this button. I'll just give this value accept and JSON. Okay. And next is the content type. So if you look at LoadRunner, right, web add header is the equivalent function, the LoadRunner, and we can use the header manager in the Jmeter. Yeah. So you see this, how really simple it is, the work scripting part. Now we'll try to execute this. I hope this will get fixed now. Okay. So now we have got the 200. Let's look at the response. So the same response that we have got. Okay. So this is how we can see a post request. Okay. Now we have sent a post request. We have created this user. Now let's try to retrieve this user. Yeah. So okay. So here it is. Get, which will retrieve the user. So if I say admin, so this should retrieve this value. So we can see this value is getting retrieved. Let me quickly create one more get request. Yeah, just for user. So how do I create a request? I'll just simply copy the URL, create a new HTTP request. I'll fit in the method, give the user. Yeah. Open up the, I'm opening the check user path, I'm playing it. Okay. I should have disabled that. Still, okay. I'm able to see this. Okay. Now we will try to rearrange these requests, right? So we will try to rearrange based on the um, based on the parts or the modules here. Okay, so there are three parts, right? Pet, store, and user. Okay. Um, what I'll do is I will create another transaction. I'll just name this as a pet. Okay. And I'll just put all the, I'll place all the pet related transaction under this. Okay. Enable this. And this is all about user, right? So as user. Oh, wait. Create one more transaction. Name this as user. Okay, this is not allowing me because already there is a user is existing. Okay, user, and this is supposed to be post or create user. Okay. I'm just pasting under this and get user. Okay, fine. Now we will look into check about the variables. Okay, so um, to create, so let's say we want to create a different users. Okay, we would need to parameterize this, right? So how do we do it? We can create a variables, okay, by invoking this. This is a variable manager. Okay, and I'm just going to create a new variable. Okay, these are the types of variables that are available. That is, these are very similar to LoadRunner, right? These are the exact similar set of variables that you can find it in LoadRunner. Okay, so what I'll do is counters. So let me quickly go through all these parts. Okay, counters which will keep counting, right? So we can give a starting value, max value. You can give a range and how this has to increase, and there is a value change policy and value distribution policy, right? This is a list. List is uh, a kind of file, but this will only be present within the NeoLoad. Instead of list, it is suggested, it is good to create a file in a text format or a CSV and then import it here, use it. And there is this SQL variable. This is a query string or a query variable where we can will be when we have these uh, data, you'll be able to retrieve some data from the database directly. This will create this is a random integer, which this will create a random number based on the range that we are going to give here. Again, this is associated with random string, minimum length and maximum length, which we are giving a range here, and constant string, which will does not this value does not change. This is really useful when you want to move between different environments, right? Password, this is nothing but whatever the value that you give, it's just going to be hidden. Okay, see this. During recording, NeoLoad will be able to pick up the right, if it is a password, it will be able to create as a password variable. Okay, and again, this is a date variable, and there is a whole set of date patterns that are associated with, and this is current date, which is used to pass the whatever the current right timing. And UID, this is really helpful when you are going to especially for UI especially if you are working with APIs. There is going to be CSRF tokens and this UIDs that you need to generate, right? So on the go will be this will allow us to generate the IDs and then pass it. Okay. Shared queues, again, this is an advanced part of NeoLoad. JavaScript, again, this is where you can write a piece of code and then return a certain value. This is used for arithmetic operations. On the fly, if you want to calculate something, this is really useful. Okay, right now I'm going to create a random integer. Okay, I'm going to follow a certain standard. I'm going to create a parameter. So I'll start with p underscore. If I'm creating um, a correlation value, I'll start with c underscore. Yeah. So p underscore, I'll just give this as rand, and I want this particular random variable to be of 4 digits. So what I'll do is I'll start with 1000, and this is the range that I'm going to give. That is this particular value will just be of only 4 digits. Yeah. So I can select this value change policy, how I want this particular value to be changed, right? On each use, each request. These are the different levels. Okay, right now we are only dealing with uh, requests. So, and I'll just go ahead and then give this as a request. Okay, all right. So this is the place that I'm going to replace it. So how do I replace? I'll just put this dollar symbol and open up the curly braces. This will list all the variables that you'll be able to use it. So prand is what that we have created. I'll just select this. I can also select or give a different name for it by creating more values. Yeah. So for the username, again, I would like to give whatever the value that I want to give. Yeah. So now let's see this part. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create an user. Okay, with a random variable, and I'm going to retrieve it. Okay, for now I'll disable this pet. Let's just start checking. So this should create a user with a random. Let's see what it has. What is the request that we have sent? 7256. It seems there is a. Okay. That's unfortunate. System got hung. Probably I need to exit this. Just give me a moment, guys. Okay, great. So we're back. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to take much time, so we will jump into the execution part. Yeah. So this is a runtime. Okay. So before we execute anything, we have to create something called as population. Okay. Population. When we say population, the literal meaning of population is just a group of people, right? Or yeah. So similarly, here, what we are going to do is we are going to group certain set of scripts. Okay. In the actual executions, what happens is there is, let's say if we take some analogy of a sample application of, I think everybody must have used Procto or some kind of apps, right, which will facilitate between doctors and the patients, right? So there is going to be different types of users. So the major user is doctors and the patients, and these users will have a different set of actions, or you get it right, their objective could be very different. Okay, a doctor can only accept or reschedule some appointments. A patient can only request an appointment to a doctor, things like that. Okay, similar like that here, this population will allow us to group certain set of scripts together. Okay, so so I'm just going to give this as include this here. Okay, there are other options that we see here. This is browser emulation, which will allow you to emulate uh, a different types of browsers. Okay, so you see there is a desktop, Linux, Mac. There are different types of browsers that are listed here, and even you can simulate it as a this mobile devices. Yeah. Okay, fine. And this is a WAN emulation, which is a network emulations. Again, you have this different types of um, network types that you can select it. Okay, handle cache is, it is like, as I said, we always have to change this to a new user. Okay, fine. Now we'll go into a runtime. Okay, so the UI must be very familiar to the LoadRunner folks. So what we see is this, just the duration policy and the load variation policy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a ramp up load variation policy right now, and I'll go ahead with the maximum of 10 users. Okay, and so this is what I'm going to give. Initialize with 2 users, increment by 2 users for every, let's say, 10 seconds. Okay, and by time, let's say I want to have this execution for only 3 minutes. Okay. Fine. I'm not going to go through a lot of settings here. It is just to give an idea of how the execution works here. Okay, let's say I want to name this as a smoke test. To start the execution, I'll just simply click this play button. This will so below what we see here is the initializing or the progress bar. Okay, see this part. So it's currently initializing. Okay. Try once again start it. So that error is because of low in memory. Yeah. So now it has initialized. We haven't given any pre-monitoring settings, so it is directly starting with the ramp up has started. Okay, so left side what we are seeing is the runtime information. Okay, that is the scenario name, start time, elapsed time, how many requests that has been fired, total throughput, and the other metrics like average response time with requests, pages, and so on. Yeah. Below is what we see is the LG's health, like how much currently it is getting utilized. And we have this runtime graphs. Yeah, so these are all the major graphs that we use to analyze. You can see it right here. If you want to, let's say you want to know about only this pet, okay, and you can simply click and drag and drop it and give okay. So this will give only information about this pet. You can simply double click it and maximize this and then have a better idea on what is going on here. Okay, there is more. You can add more graph boards here, right? And there are this other if you have monitors, or if you have access to the servers, you'll be able to add them to here and then have them monitored right here during the execution, which is really helpful uh, for analyzing. Yeah, and this is the runtime errors and runtime alerts. Right now we don't see any errors or alerts, so it is empty. What we can do is we can create some, purposely create some errors so that it'll show something here. Okay, and now this is the runtime users. Okay, so what all these users and what actions these are currently making. So we can see the start time, which load generator it is using, that is just the systems LG it is being used, which population belongs to, this population, and which user path it is getting used. Okay, and these are the instance IDs. Okay, there is an option where you can add or remove the users. See this start users and stop users. You'll be able to add. Um, so, for example, let's say I want to add a new user. I'll be able to add this. Right? And add this. So see this. Now one more users got into it. Okay. So I think 3 minutes gone. It's over. So it's stopping. Fine. All right. So this the execution is done. So let's see all of them coming to an end. Okay, this has completed. So after the execution, it is just, so this is the results that we see. So all the information that what we are looking for is just gets populated here, right? So you can see the summary. In the statistics summary, you can see the total pages, requests, throughputs, and right side you see all this average related part. See the execution graphs here, hotspots, which gives you the information like top 5 errors, alerts, all those parts. Yeah. And yeah, errors. So there is general statistics, and we can also go ahead with transaction wide statistics. So this is what we are actually looking into. So you see this min, max, average count are the number of samples that has, number of iterations that has gone. Yeah. And we see this percentile 50, 95th percentile, 99th percentile, and there is a standard deviation and average 98th percentage. And below we can see the graphs. Okay, it's not that it has a really intuitive results manager. Okay, where you'll be able to compare to different results. This is really helpful for release based type of work. That, for example, let's say every month there is going to be a release, and then you would want to compare it, right? That is the previous month, and then you want to introspect what are the different transactions, and how, whether if it's there is a upgradation, sorry, improvement or degradation, and things like that. You'll be able to do it. And yeah, there is a lot into here. And another best part is that nowadays we do not get the server access, right? Instead we can request the server folks to give the data. So these are the different types of data that we can find it, right? uh, um, these data, it can be of a simple generic CSV file. You can simply import this and then have the monitoring data also added here. Okay, so for example, this is where you'll be getting the monitors related. Okay, now let's say I'll disable this user. Okay, I'll show you one part about checkpoints. Yeah, before going into that, just once again I'll replay this. Okay, available, sold. Okay, let's try to apply a validation or assertion. Okay, how to apply an assertion? I can go click on the request that you want to assert. See this, there is this validation button here, assertion settings. Simply bring this. Okay, there are three types of assertions that is it is allowed in NeoLoad. Okay, the first is duration assertion, which is the response time assertion. Okay, and a content length, which is the size assertion, and the then usual text assertion. Okay, to add a text assertion, and just click this plus button. Okay, and see this part, this text picker. If you click this, this will bring up the recorded response. This recorded response is what we have actually updated it. Okay, we can select anything from here. Okay, so let's say for now I would want to go with this. particular piece of code. Okay, I can select this and then simply click OK. That's it. Assertion is done. I can simply go ahead and then replay this part. So this is again equivalent to the response assertion of Jmeter, folks. So you see this, it says 1 out of 1 assertion succeeded. Right? We can also go here and let me give some other assertion. Okay, let's say, let me give this a response assertion. Let's say I'm just giving something unrealistic response time. Okay, so I would want this particular uh, re request to be loaded within 2 ms. Okay, this is the assertion that I have given, and I'll just try to replay it. Okay, so it is throwing an error. What it says, so the response duration is 1771 was longer than 2. Okay, so which are the assertions that get succeeded? It doesn't show any there is an issue here. Okay, it will only display which has failed. Okay, so right now in this particular request I've applied 2 different assertions here. Right, one is a response assertion, time assertion, another one is the text validation. Yeah, so you guys have any questions? Please type it in. Okay, thanks Arun. Okay, uh, definitely Varun, that is not planned actually. We will have one more session maybe next week or next week. We'll be discussing on that. Absolutely. Great. So I think this could be little exhaustive today. So if you guys have any more questions, please now we can then we can wrap it up. I could see some of my previous batch of folks have joined. Nice. Radhakrishnan, counters means which counters are you referring? Are you referring to the monitoring part, or is it a variable part? So are you referring to these counters, performance counters? Okay, right. Right. So to give the to answer this question, okay, so let me quickly show you about the monitoring. See, this is a very interesting part of NeoLoad. Okay, you can add a new monitors here, right? So you can see there is a whole set of monitors that are available, and we have, we have to understand which monitors, or whichever the monitors that, the servers that has been used. Okay, so that monitors can be added here. Okay, for example, let's say I'll go ahead and add a my SQL database monitor. Okay, and let's say I have, this has to be a valid monitors, that is, this has to be a valid one. So I'm just, to give you an idea, I'm just adding a sample monitors here. Okay, I can add this. So as I add, this will show a set of uh, counters that can be added. You see this, these are the all these counters, or the parts that is associated with this particular type of server, that is MySQL. You can see this connections, threads, max allowed, IOs, read rates, etc., all these parts, right? So I can simply click next, and I don't have any valid connection, so I'll just simply go ahead and then click next, and we can see this, these are the counters that are available. And by default, NeoLoad has already selected the frequently used counters that is required. Okay, you can also see get an idea, okay, what is handler rollback. You will have a description here. Okay, so it means just number of requests for a stored engine or something like that. Okay. This tool can also be used to learn what are the other counters that are available in, associated with which monitors, right? So if you have a valid one, you'll be able to add it right here, and during the execution, these counters gets added in the results, which will give you a really intuitive results. See, at the end of the day, we are focused on the results, right? So this gives a very good idea. Yeah. So next is yes, Arun. So Arun is asking if we can configure load generators. So to answer this question, um, so you see this load generators part, right? There are multiple options that NeoLoad offers. Okay, one is the local host, which is this my current machine. Okay, if you can also add multiple machines in and put it in a similar same networks. Okay, which will, and install the controller into those machines, which will show up uh, those LGs right here. It will get added into this particular zone. You'll be able to do it. And there is one more part, which is this. You see this cloud button. This is a cloud LGs, which again you have to buy it from the Neotus. These cloud LGs are hosted almost all over the world. If at all, if you want to, create a different uh, traffic from different part of the geography, you'll be able to do that. Yeah. Mm. So there is for this memory related issues, right, with the LGs. First thing is we have to determine how many users that, and again it 100% it depends on the types of scripts, how heavy it is, resource, if it is an resource intensive, or how many transactions that are involved in that, right? First we have to determine the LG, and it is good to have a really good system with maybe more than 16 GB RAM, or something like that. Yeah, fine. So any other questions? Okay, so I hope everybody has learned something today. Thanks for joining, especially for Indian folks. It's too early, that on Sunday. Yeah. Fine, guys. So we will wrap it up, and If you would like to learn more about NeoLoad, you can always visit this website and contact this number. Thank you very much for joining. We will have more such sessions. Yeah. Yes, obviously you will get a recorded sessions. It will be available on YouTube. We will give the yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Arun. Do it. Thanks everybody for joining. So have a good and long weekend. Good day, everybody. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bhagya.